Hey guys! So today I'm going to be talking about top surgery. And the reason for that is because it's the main kind of goal that I have right now for transition. It's the main thing that I'm working toward and planning and everything, but I haven't told anybody yet other than my best friend and my family that I'm planning to have top surgery. So it's been kind of weighing on me having this like big thing in my life, like this thing that's taking up a lot of my time and energy, but not really being able to talk about it with anybody and feeling like it's this kind of like secret thing that, I don't know, like it just kind of is weighing on me. So for that reason, I would like to be able to talk about it. I also would like to be able to talk about it because I want to be able to make videos about it and sort of document the process as I go, so that I can help other people who are considering top surgery or are friends and family of people who are considering or having or have already had top surgery. And then finally, I feel really kind of nervous about telling my friends and family that I want to have top surgery because it's such a personal thing and such a huge step for somebody to take. It's kind of extreme sounding to a lot of people. But I think that a lot of the reason for that is just because it's something that most people don't really know that much about. And it's kind of this thing that, I don't know, like it seems like kind of there's a little bit of shame around it. Like it's okay to do that, or it's okay to have plastic surgery as long as you don't talk about it or something. And so I kind of feel like the more that I talk about it, the more that other people talk about it, the more normalized it will seem. So people who might be shocked, like when I first tell them, maybe by the time I am through the process and they see the whole process, or at least, hear about it in like a cursory kind of way from me, it'll just become more normal for them. And whether or not that affects me and my relationship with them, it could maybe make it easier for somebody else that they know in the future. So basically by top surgery, what I'm talking about is a bilateral mastectomy because I was assigned female at birth. That's the kind of top surgery that I'm going to be having, and it's called FTM top surgery, FTM meaning female to male. And it's called that even if you don't identify as male. So I identify as non-binary, but it's still called FTM. That's just like kind of the colloquial term for it. So I think for people that do identify as male, I think most people kind of understand why they want top surgery. Like it's kind of a little bit more intuitive, I guess. For non-binary people, it's a little bit more confusing because there's not like, you're not transitioning to a gender that already exists within the gender binary, obviously, because male and female are kind of the only options for that. So there really is no like ideal for non-binary. I mean, there's like kind of, I guess, a popular idea of like the purest like androgynous center point that you could get to, but in reality there's not really a societal like model of what non-binary is. So when you transition from male or female to non-binary or to neutral or whatever you want to call it, it's a little bit more complicated, I guess, for people to understand what your goals are and what you're going for, because it's different for everybody. So I guess that's kind of why I feel like I want to explain why I want top surgery, because it's maybe not as obvious as it would be if I did identify as male. But really all it comes down to is that I personally don't like or feel comfortable having breasts. I don't like how they look or feel, and they've always kind of felt to me like a hindrance, like something that's holding me back from being like my full self, I guess. And there are a few kind of, I don't know, reasons or complicating factors for my, I guess, relationship with my body and everything. The first being that when I was 11, I was diagnosed with growth hormone deficiency, which basically just meant that my body was unable to produce enough growth hormone on its own. So I needed to inject myself with growth hormone for about 4 years. It was through all of middle school and a little bit of high school. So I was a few years behind on my physical development, like down to my bones. My bone age was, I think, 9 when I was 11. So it took me a little while to catch up, even after I started taking growth hormone. And when I did, it was like this huge growth spurt that I went through between the beginning of high school and somewhere in the middle of sophomore year. I grew like 4 inches and gained like 45 pounds, and suddenly went from wearing a girl's large training bra to like I think like 34C or something like that. So it was a huge change for me. It was very traumatic, really. And so for a long time, I felt really uncomfortable with myself. And I guess for a while, it felt to me like the reason for that was just because it was this huge traumatic thing that I just hadn't processed yet. But that was 20 years ago now, and I basically still feel the same. I just feel like it doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel like it's how things are supposed to be, or I don't really know how to describe it other than just to say it doesn't feel me. But I kind of like put it in the back of my mind, I guess. Like I didn't question my gender at all until a few years ago. So I never really thought of it as really a gender thing. I guess I did kind of subconsciously, I guess, like in hindsight, I can see ways that I did have gender dysphoria without realizing it, which I think is fairly common. But for the most part, I didn't really think of it like that. I just thought of it as something I was uncomfortable with. Like, I think most people have things about their body that they're not comfortable with. And I didn't think there was really anything I could do about it. I mean, I did kind of consider getting a reduction at several points, like even starting in high school, I considered that, but I kind of put it aside and just didn't really do anything about it. But about a year ago, it was last October, I got my first binder, and the kind of official reason, I guess, that I got it was because I wanted to cosplay a male character, and I knew that I would need to bind to do that. But kind of secretly, I guess, I also just was curious about it. I just wanted to see what it was like, what it felt like, and everything. And I ended up not actually doing that character. I did a different male character, which I'll get to in a minute. But when I first got it, I put it on, and I was like kind of taken aback by how much I really loved the way that I looked. I felt much more confident, like almost immediately, and just more, I don't know, like more free, I guess. Which is kind of weird to say when you're binding yourself, when you're constricting yourself, that it would make you feel more free, but that's exactly how it felt for me. However, it was kind of uncomfortable, as you might guess, and I also was not out yet at that time, so I basically just like kept it in a drawer, and like every once in a while I would put it on and like, I don't know, just kind of like try it out again and stuff, but I never wore it out in public, and I don't know, it was kind of just something that I felt like was experimental, I guess. So at the beginning of this year, I think it was around February or so, Micah from New Troy Nonsense did a survey of anybody of any gender who has ever had top surgery or wanted to, or like even thought about it at all. And I went ahead and filled it out, even though I hadn't really considered it at that point. Like I didn't really think of it as something that I would do, but I was kind of curious about it, I guess. So I went ahead and filled out the survey, and I did so basically from the perspective of like wishing that I could try it out and then like go back if I didn't like it or something like that, but I didn't really, I guess, take it that seriously at that time. But kind of immediately after that, I realized that I was thinking about it a lot more, and it was kind of something that I casually thought about. Like, I guess I would think about it every once in a while and kind of entertain the idea, and then I would kind of get scared off. Like, I would think about the fact that it's kind of a major surgery, and I don't know, like I just wasn't ready really to think about it at that point. Oh, and by the way, they are still actually looking for somebody to help them mine through all that data that they found, because it's a lot of data and they can't do it by themselves. So I'm going to put a link in the description for how you can contact Micah and help them if you know anything about data analysis or anything like that, or if you know anybody who does. I think that they're really looking for somebody to help them out with that. So anyway, it basically was this thing that I kind of had in the back of my mind that I was thinking about kind of casually and hadn't really done any like real research on. Like it kind of kept coming back to me, and it was kind of hard to ignore, I guess, but I hadn't really spent very much time thinking about it seriously or looking into it seriously. For the last almost 2 years, I've also been dealing with some medical issues surrounding my chest area. I've had to have several ultrasounds and mammograms and some other stuff done to try to figure out what was going on, and still nobody really has any idea. It's not cancer, thankfully, but other than that, there's not really any explanation. So I'm supposed to keep having all these follow-up exams and everything, and like the more that I kept going through it, it's kind of overlapped a lot with my thinking about top surgery and my chest in general, and realizing that I have chest dysphoria. And so the longer it's gone on, the more I've felt like I don't even want these anyway, so why should I keep having to go through this and, keep having to go to all these women's centers and places that I feel really out of place and, kind of triggered, to be honest, and everything, when I don't even want them. Like, after I would think that kind of subconsciously, and then, I started to realize what I was saying to myself: I don't want these. And so yeah, that's been kind of an extra thing. Like, I don't at all want it to seem like I want top surgery just so I don't have to deal with getting ultrasounds or anything like that. But it's just been this extra layer on top of everything that has kind of made me feel even more kind of, I don't know, like, detached isn't really the right word, but uncomfortable with my chest, and feeling like it's not something that I feel like is me. It's not something I want or feel connected to, I guess. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. But then I went to Dragon Con this past September, and I cosplayed Nathan Drake from Uncharted 2, which was the first male character I ever cosplayed, and 11 from Stranger Things. And for both of those, I wore a binder, and that was the first time I really wore my binder out in public. Which was like a really safe way to do that, because when you're in costume, like, nobody's going to think about anything about you wearing the binder. It's not going to be a judgment on you or your gender or anything like that, really. I know plenty of cis women who wear binders to cosplay or to do all kinds of characters and everything, so it's not like seen as a strange thing at all, which I guess is like maybe kind of wimpy of me to use that as a starting point, but it really helped me a lot. And I think it helped me also to be in costume as two characters that I really admire and feel are both like a lot more confident than I am. But definitely the binder was like a big part of my increased confidence at the con. And it really was like this huge shift in my head. Like, when I would put it on, I wore it for 4 days, not like entirely the whole day, but for a pretty extended period every day for 4 days in a row. And it was hot in Atlanta, and I was all sweaty, and it was like I was walking around for miles every day and everything, but none of that really mattered to me, because I felt just emotionally and like internally so much better about myself. I felt so much more confident and like, I don't know, like powerful almost, and just like so much freer than I had really in a very long time. And like, every time I would see a picture of myself or like look in the mirror or something, I would just like think about how much better I looked to myself than I normally do, and how much more right I looked to myself. I felt like what I looked like flat-chested is what I want to and like feel like I am supposed to look like. So while I was wearing it, I also just felt more physically able to do things. Like, I felt less like constrained, or I don't know, like, and again, I know that's kind of strange for something that is physically constraining you and everything, but I don't know, I just felt more, I felt bigger somehow, strangely enough. Like, I felt, I don't know how to describe it. But basically, after that point, I knew at that point that I never was going to be able to go back to pretending like I was okay having breasts, because I wasn't really okay with it before, but it was easier to pretend like I was. It was easier to trick myself into thinking I was, and to kind of like shove it under the rug and not think about it, and feel like it was something I was kind of resigned to. But after I experienced what it felt like to have a flat chest and to like be in the world having a flat chest, it really just, it made it, I just couldn't imagine going back to compromising myself and feeling like I had to like prevent myself from being my full self. So that was when I really started looking into and planning top surgery. And that was about 2 months ago. So I've been doing a whole lot of research. I've seen like a million videos on YouTube. I've read accounts of what the surgery is like, what the recovery is like. I have like seen a million zillion results pictures from different surgeons, and I basically just feel a lot more knowledgeable on the topic and like more prepared than I did before. But I still have a lot to do before I can actually get it done. Really, the main barrier right now is the financial aspect of it, because it's very expensive. It kind of varies depending on what surgeon you go to and if your insurance covers any of it and whether you have to travel to do it, because it's really a pretty specialized procedure still at this point. Like there are surgeons who do it kind of spread around, and so I think most people who have top surgery have to travel at least a little bit. I mean, it might only be like a couple hours or something, but some people travel to different countries, to different states and everything. I live in Florida, so I luckily have several options in the state of people who are pretty experienced with it. And I've kind of narrowed it down to, I would say, 3 surgeons that I'm looking at. But I haven't had any consultations yet, and I haven't really gotten any farther than just looking into and kind of mentally planning. But I'm going to have to be saving up a lot of money, and in about a week, the insurance plans for 2017 are going to be coming up on the healthcare marketplace. So at that point, I'm going to look at all of them and kind of choose a plan kind of based around this, like try to figure out what the best option for me would be if I could get it covered by insurance at all. And if I can't, then I'm going to have to save even more, but I'm going to have to save a lot either way. So I'm kind of stuck from that. Like if I could, I would have it done tomorrow. I would have like already had it done, but unfortunately I can't. So I don't really know exactly what my timeline is going to be like. It could be like a few months, it could be another year, it could be longer than that. I really don't know. Obviously the sooner the better as far as I'm concerned, but I do hope to kind of document the whole process as far as like looking into the insurance and having consultations and all that, like even before it gets to like pre-op and the surgery itself and recovery and everything like that, which I honestly at this point am not entirely sure yet how much of that I'm going to feel comfortable showing. Like most of the people that I've been following do show like the results in either pictures or video and everything, and I would like to be able to do that. But right now, it's kind of difficult for me to imagine being okay with that. It's kind of difficult for me to imagine allowing people to see that much of me. And I'm sure a lot of that is because I was socialized as female. And obviously, like a big part of our society, as far as the female body, is that it's shameful and you should cover it up and not let anybody see you topless. So that's kind of been drilled into me a lot, and I really, even though I don't identify as female, it's really hard to shake for me because I feel like most people still see me as female. So even if I don't internally feel female and feel like that should matter, even if I logically know that it shouldn't matter, it's just hard for me to not kind of worry about what people will think or making people uncomfortable, because I don't want to do that. But again, I kind of feel like maybe it's okay to have like a little bit of discomfort in pursuit of normalizing it. So I would like to get to the point where I feel comfortable with that, but it's just a little bit hard for me right now. And I kind of also wonder if my dysphoria about my chest is also a factor in that. Like it's possible that after I have the surgery and I feel better about my overall silhouette or whatever, I'll feel more okay with people seeing it. Like the fact that I don't feel comfortable right now with how I look, like even to myself, I think definitely plays a part in why I wouldn't want anybody else to see it either. So I guess that kind of covers like the reasons why I want top surgery and my general plans for it. And I hope to come back in again a week or so and be able to talk about the insurance situation, but honestly I don't know exactly what there will be to talk about, so I can't promise anything as far as that's concerned. But I also plan to make another video at some point about my general transition goals and like the things that I do and do not plan right now to pursue as far as transition. Partly to, maybe preemptively answer anybody's questions of people that I know who maybe didn't think that I was planning to transition at all. But partly to, kind of have like a record for myself of like where I am at this point, because I'm sure that it's going to change. I mean, like I said, less than a year ago, I didn't think that I would want top surgery. I definitely was not seriously thinking about that. And there are things that I wasn't seriously thinking about a month or so ago that now I really am considering. So, I want to kind of have a record for myself in addition to all this, noble, selfless stuff that I'm trying to do, making a resource for other people. I also, for myself, I'm kind of the kind of person who likes to record things and likes to have documentation, and like I archive everything. So this is obviously a pretty important part of my life right now, and I'd like to have a record of that. So if anybody has any questions for me or things that you would like me to talk about or anything like that, just let me know. You can either leave a comment below or contact me directly or whatever you want to do. And I guess that about covers it for today. So I will see you guys next time.